50 years ago, U.S. civil rights leader Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. gave his famous I Have a Dream speech at the March on Washington. Today, thousands returned to the National Mall to celebrate that anniversary. CCTV's Jim Spellman was there and joins us now live. Jim.
Elaine, it was a very exciting day down on the mall. Despite a little bit of rain, people came from all over the country to reflect on Dr. King's legacy and take stock of what still needs to be done to make his dream become a reality. On a rainy afternoon 50 years later, Dr. Martin Luther King's famous words still echo from the steps of the Lincoln Memorial.
I have a dream.
And for Michael Howard and Maria Miller, who traveled from California to D.C. for the 50th anniversary of the March on Washington, the dream is still very much alive.
It was a dream to think that I would live to see a black president, or even a dream to believe that there would be fair or better treatment for African Americans.
U.S. President Barack Obama, along with former U.S. Presidents Bill Clinton and Jimmy Carter, joined civil rights leaders and the King family to celebrate the legacy of the march and the 1960s-era civil rights movement.
It's an opportunity today to recall where we once were in this nation.
For many here, the embodiment of Dr. King's dream is Barack Obama, the United States' first African-American president. But despite all the progress, there is much more work to be done before that dream is fulfilled. 50 years later, African Americans still face higher unemployment, lower home ownership, and a staggering wealth gap versus white Americans. The battle Dr. King fought for economic justice continues today.
For the men and women who gathered 50 years ago, we're not there in search of some abstract idea. They were there seeking jobs as well as justice.
And as the day came to an end, the focus shifts from 50 years in the past to 50 years in the future.
By that time, maybe there will be total equality in America.
That's the dream.
That's the dream.
And the hope that one day Dr. King's closing words will ring true for all.
Free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
I met a woman at today's event who was not able to attend the speech 50 years ago because her family was afraid they wouldn't be able to find restaurants or hotels that would serve black Americans along the way, so they decided to stay home. She told me that despite all the challenges America still deals with regarding race, the country has indeed come a long way. Elaine?
And Jim, you mentioned this in the story, but it's still hard to get past that gap that still exists between black Americans and white Americans when it comes to economics. African Americans still have a lower standard of living than white Americans.
It's true, and a Gallup poll released just today showed that 40% of African Americans think racial discrimination is a major factor in why blacks have generally a lower standard of living in the U.S. So until there is economic equality in the U.S., many will consider Martin Luther King's dream to be at least partially unfulfilled. Elaine?
All right, Jim Spellman in our newsroom. Thanks for that.